wake up, and before you even open your eyes, it's already there. Not the noise of the world outside, the noise from within, thoughts that start before the coffee, judgments that arrive before the light of day, a voice that never rests, that never stops, that never, not for a second, leaves you completely at peace. And you spent years trying to quiet this noise the wrong way. You worked more so you wouldn't think. You moved more so you wouldn't feel. You scrolled for hours, watched one more episode, started one more conversation, all to not hear what was waiting in silence. And the noise continued. Louder, sometimes. More present, always. Here is what nobody told you. You don't have a discipline problem. You don't have a focus problem. You don't have a character flaw. You have a problem with silence, with what appears when it arrives, with what you would discover about yourself if you stopped running long enough to listen. There is an ancient wisdom that survived empires, slavery, wars, plagues, and losses that you and I will never know. It doesn't promise an easy life. It doesn't sell shortcuts. It doesn't ask you to think positive. It looks straight at the chaos inside you and says, this has a name, and you can cross through it. Today, 12 Stoic lessons on inner silence. They are not concepts to consider when you are in the right mood. They are tools. Tools that work now, if you have the courage to use them. They will be uncomfortable. They will challenge stories you've been telling for years about who you are and why you are this way. They will ask that you see yourself honestly. And that is the hardest thing any human being can do. But if you are tired of feeling like a prisoner inside your own head, if you are exhausted from waking up every day carrying the same weight, if you are ready to stop being a victim of your own mind, stay with me. Every word here was chosen for you. Before we begin, write in the comments, I am ready for silence. Number 1. The noise inside you is not who you are. It is the accumulation of everything you never processed. You believe that the voice that criticizes, that catastrophizes, that compares is you. It's your personality. It's the way you function. And because you believe that, you never question it. You just obey. But it is not you. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself every morning. Not for the world, for himself. Reminders that the mind has the capacity to follow its deepest nature. He wrote in the Meditations, the mind that follows nature never knows poverty. A calm mind, a clear mind, a mind that is not constantly at war with itself. But what happens when this mind is never cleaned? Think of the mind as a workbench. When you never organize it, over time it gets covered. Papers from old projects, memos from weeks ago, problems you said you'd solve later, and one day you try to work at this table to do something that truly matters. And you can't. Not because you lost the capacity, because there is no space. Your mind is full of unfinished things, relationships you didn't mourn properly, failures you swept under the rug, angers you swallowed because it wasn't the moment, fears you pretended didn't exist because admitting them felt like weakness. All this material didn't disappear. It turned into weight. It turned into a pattern. It turned into the voice. And until you sit with this material and process it honestly, without haste, without judgment, just with honesty, the table will never have space, and the mind will never find real silence. The noise is not you. It is what you haven't yet had the courage to face. Number 2. You are not afraid of failing. You are afraid of what failure would say about what you are worth. There is a difference that changes everything, and almost nobody makes. Fear of failure would be rational. Failures have real consequences. You lose money, time, effort. That hurts, but it is manageable. You get up, evaluate, try again. What most people carry is not this fear. It's another one, deeper, more paralyzing. It is the fear that if you fail, it would prove something, that the voices that doubted you were right, that the judgment you fear most, your own, would finally be confirmed. Epictetus wrote in the Enchiridion something that still shakes those who read with attention. Men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. It is not failure that paralyzes, it is the meaning that you, at some point in your life, decided that failure would have. And here is what nobody tells you about this meaning. You didn't build it, you inherited it. From a father who confused results with value, from a school that punished the error instead of teaching it, from a world that learned to applaud the arrival and ignore the journey. You absorbed this equation before you had the vocabulary to question it, and it stayed, silent, operating underneath every decision, every risk you didn't take, every project that stayed in the drawer, waiting for a moment that never arrived. Failure doesn't say what you are worth. It says what didn't work. That is information. It is not a sentence. The man who loses a business learns what the market does not forgive. The man who loses a relationship learns what he truly needed. The man who fails publicly learns that the fall is survivable and that this discovery has a price worth paying. None of these failures diminished who they are. Each one revealed what they needed to see. You're not afraid of falling. You're afraid of what you will think of yourself when you fall. Change the equation. Right, my value is not in my results. Number 3, the most closed-off version of you is not the strongest. It is the most scared. You learned somewhere that hardness is protection, that not feeling is not suffering, that if you close enough, if you build walls high enough, nothing else will be able to reach you. And it worked, for a time. But look at the real price. You can't close only to the pain. When you close to everything, to joy as well, to surprise, to the moments when life offers something genuine, a connection, an opportunity, a simple beauty, and you are physically present but too closed to receive it. Marcus Aurelius was not a fragile man. He led armies during 18 years of almost continuous war. He lost children. He survived betrayals within his own circle of power. He governed during the Antonine Plague, which killed millions. And still, he wrote to himself every morning in the notebooks we know today as the Meditations. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. He didn't close to protect himself. He chose, consciously, what to let in. There is a huge difference between hardness and strength. Hardness is reactive. It is a wall built in haste after a wound. Strength is choice. It is knowing what you can endure, having been tested by it, and deciding to remain open nonetheless. The hardest person in the room is almost always the most wounded. The strongest person is the one who was wounded, felt it completely, and decided not to become the wound. You don't need more walls, you need more roots. Number 4, you are not alone, you are inaccessible, and the difference between those two things is entirely yours. Loneliness has 2 forms. The first is real isolation. No people, no presence, no contact. This form hurts, but at least it is honest. You know you are alone. The second is more common and more painful, being surrounded by people, family, friends, colleagues, and still completely alone because nobody truly knows you, because nobody has access to what is actually happening inside you. And this second form, you built it. Not because you are cold, not because you are incapable of connection, but because at some point you learned that being known is being vulnerable, and being vulnerable is being attackable. So you show a version of yourself, the one that seems to be fine, that has the right answers, that doesn't need much, and you keep the real version hidden. The result? The people around you love a character, and you observe from afar this love that is not completely yours, and you feel exactly what you were trying to avoid, alone, even surrounded. Seneca wrote in Letter 7 to Lucilius, "Withdraw into yourself as far as possible. Spend your time with those who will make you better, not with everyone, with those who build you, but for someone to build you, they need to truly know you. And for them to truly know you You need to truly show up. Real accessibility is not weakness. It is the only condition that makes deep connection possible. And without real connection, everything else, the success, the achievements, the recognition, sounds empty when you get home and the silence receives you. You don't need more people. You need fewer characters. Right? I show up as I am, not as I should appear. Number 5, you're not procrastinating. You are protecting yourself from something you haven't yet had the courage to name. There is the version of procrastination that everyone knows. Laziness, lack of discipline, lack of willpower, the version that society uses to shame those who delay. And there is the real version, which almost nobody talks about. You delay because starting means facing. It means putting to the test what you think you are capable of. It means exposing something of yours, an idea, a project, an attempt in a world that can judge. And some part of you at some point learned that it is safer not to start than to start and confirm your worst fears about yourself. So you wait for inspiration, for the right moment, for more preparation, for better conditions. And weeks pass, months pass, and that thing you know you should do continues waiting in a place where neither beginning nor failure can reach you. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Book 5 of the Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But you can only use the obstacle if you face it. And the first obstacle is not the task. It is not the project. It is the honest conversation you need to have with the fear that is underneath the delay. One question, just one, and you need to answer honestly, without the polished version, without the surface excuse. What have you been delaying for the longest time? Now, what confirmation are you afraid to receive if you start and don't succeed? When you name this with precision, with honesty, procrastination loses part of its power. Because now you know what you are actually facing. And you can consciously decide if you want to continue letting this fear dictate your agenda, or if you are ready to cross through it. You are not lazy. You have fear disguised as laziness. And fear, unlike laziness, can be crossed. Right, I start now with fear by my side. Number 6. Forced gratitude is another escape. Real gratitude is a discipline that begins with honesty. At some point, someone told you to be grateful. Make the list. Focus on what is well. Think of the blessings. And you tried, and you felt that strangeness of performing a ritual that wasn't truly working, a superficial lightness that lasted minutes and then dissolved, because it wasn't working. Forced gratitude, the self-help version that asks you to ignore what hurts and focus on what is well, is another escape strategy. It is another way of not feeling what needs to be felt. You don't resolve emotional accumulation by pretending the accumulation doesn't exist. You just add guilt on top. Guilt for not being able to be grateful enough while the pain is still there. Epictetus was a slave, literally, without freedom, without property, without guarantee of tomorrow, and still he wrote in the Enchiridion, "Seek not that the things which happen should happen as you wish, but wish the things which happen to be as they are, and you will find tranquility." This was not denial. It was not forced optimism. It was radical acceptance of reality first, followed by a deliberate choice about how to relate to it. Real gratitude starts like this. Not with the list of good things. It starts with the honest recognition of what is difficult, of what weighs, of what you lost. Look at it with clarity, feel the real weight of it. And then, not before, then find what is still standing. Not as an escape from what hurts, as a foundation from what remained. This difference seems small in theory. In effect, it is huge. Forced gratitude leaves you more anxious because you feel you are faking. Real gratitude anchors you because it coexists with the truth of what is happening. You don't need to pretend you are fine to be grateful. You can be struggling and still recognize what wasn't taken away. Write, I am grateful without pretending everything is fine. Number 7. Comparison doesn't motivate you, it paralyzes you, and you keep doing it because you confuse torture with ambition. At some point, someone convinced you that looking at those who got further would inspire you. That comparison would be fuel, that seeing others' success would light something in you. Maybe it works for some people. For most, what happens is different. You look at where the other person is, you look at where you are, and instead of fire, you feel emptiness. Instead of motivation, you feel inadequacy. The question that rises is not, how do I get there? It is, why haven't I gotten there yet? And that question leads you nowhere. It only keeps you stuck in a narrative of permanent lateness. Marcus Aurelius governed the largest empire in the world. He had access to everything. He was observed by millions, and still he wrote to himself in Book 4 of the Meditations, withdraw into yourself as far as you can, not for external comparison, inwardly, for the measure that matters. Here is the structural problem of comparison. You will always find someone ahead. Always. The world is too big, and the stories that reach you are stories of arrival, not of process, not of cost, not of the years of invisibility before the turn. You compare your backstage with others' stage, and you lose every time, not because you are less, but because comparison itself is a bottomless trap. The only progress that produces something real is yours in relation to who you were, not the neighbor. Not the colleague, not the profile you follow, you yesterday and you today. This is the only measure that says something true about your trajectory. Stop running on a track that has no finish line. Start building on the ground that is yours. Right, my only race is with who I was yesterday. Number 8, you don't need more answers. You need better questions. You spent years seeking answers. You read books, you watched videos, you asked for advice, you listened to experts. And still, at certain moments, you feel you are going in circles in the same place. More informed, perhaps, but not necessarily freer. Because the answers you find depend entirely on the questions you ask. And if the questions are wrong, the best answers in the world won't lead you anywhere. The most common questions people ask themselves when they are suffering: why does this always happen to me? Why can't I change? Why don't things get better? These questions have something in common. They assume you are a patient of your own life, that something external acts upon you and you receive it passively, and your mind, faithful, efficient, obedient, will find exactly the answers these questions deserve. It will show you all the history of evidence that confirms that yes, things always go wrong for you, that yes, you can't change. The mind is a machine for finding what you tell it to look for. Seneca wrote in Letter 13, what disturbs us are not things, but the views we take of them, and the questions you ask form the opinions. They form the filter. They determine what the mind will find in the real world. The right question is not, why does this happen to me? It is, what is this trying to teach me? It is not, why can't I? It is, what have I not yet truly tried? It is not, when will things get better? It is, what depends on me to start now? Small change in form, huge difference in the destination. The question takes your mind. Point to possibilities, not prisons. Right, I ask questions that open me, not that close me. Number 9, your ego is not your ally. It is the gentlest jailer you've ever had. You think your ego protects you. That need to be right. To maintain the image, not to admit weakness in public, to never appear less than you should be. It looks like protection. It looks like reasonable self-preservation. But look more carefully. Your ego is not protecting you. It is imprisoning you. With gentleness, with justifications that sound reasonable, with stories that make imprisonment look like wisdom. Epictetus wrote in the Discourses, if you wish to make progress, be content to be thought foolish and stupid with regard to external things. This means accept not knowing, accept making mistakes in front of others. Accept that growing requires going through the stage of being the beginner, the mistaken, the one who hasn't gotten there yet. Most people never reach their real potential because they would rather appear capable than become capable. Think of how many times your ego made you refuse help you needed because asking felt like weakness, defending a position you no longer believed in because admitting the change looked like inconsistency, not trying something new because failing publicly seemed unbearable. The ego creates an imaginary audience that is much more severe than any real audience. That mistake you made 3 years ago and that still makes you wake up at 3 a.m., most people don't remember. The ones who do don't care as much as you imagine. Your real audience is too busy with their own mistakes to dedicate themselves to yours. Your ego has a cost that rarely appears on the immediate bill. It appears later when you look back and count the opportunities that no longer exist because the image had to be maintained. You can be right or you can be growing. Often, you can't do both at the same time. Number 10, the past doesn't define you, but the story you tell about it does, and you are the only author of that story. Something happened to you, maybe a long time ago, maybe recently, a loss, a betrayal, a public failure, a difficult childhood, a relationship that taught you things you would have preferred not to need to learn, and you carry this, not as a memory, but as an identity. I am like this because of what they did to me. I can't trust because I was betrayed. I don't risk anymore because I already lost too much. These phrases have two components: a real fact, something happened, and a story, what that means for who you are today, for what you are capable of, for what you deserve. The fact you cannot change. The story you can. Marcus Aurelius lost several children while still young. He was betrayed by people in his inner circle of trust. He governed during decades of wars and crises he didn't choose, and he wrote in Book of the Meditations, "The best revenge is to not be like him who did the injury, not bitter, not closed, not defined by the wound, different, better even, because of the wound." You don't erase the past by redefining the story you tell about it, but you decide what that story means for what comes next. If it is a sentence or a lesson, if it is the end of what you can become or the beginning of who you choose to be. The past happened. That is fixed. But the narrative you carry about it is renewed every morning, in every choice, in every interpretation you make of what that meant. You are the only author of that story. Write something worth continuing. Write, "My story didn't end where they hurt me." Number 11, you are going to die, and you are still living, as if you had infinite time to start. This is the truth nobody wants to hear. But it is the truth that changes all others. You are going to die, not in an abstract and distant future, in a real future which approaches every day and which may be much closer than any of us allows ourselves to honestly imagine. And you are living as if you had forever. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself in Book 13 of the Meditations, one of the most disturbing and most liberating sentences a human being can read. "All that you hear and see, let it go. The hour comes when you will have to go away. Why not depart already? Not as an invitation to death, as an invitation to total presence, as a reminder that every moment in which you are not completely here is an irrecoverable moment." Seneca, at the beginning of letter 1 to Lucilius, the first letter, the opening of the entire collection, wrote with urgency, "Claim yourself for yourself. Redeem the time which until now has been taken from you." Not tomorrow. Now. Claim the time. You hold grudges that won't matter in the last week of your life. You delay conversations that might not have a second chance. You postpone the version of you that truly wants to exist, waiting for conditions that are never completely perfect. You live as if there were a rehearsal before the real presentation. There is no rehearsal. This is the presentation. The Stoics practiced memento mori, the remembrance of death, not to be somber, to be awake, to treat every hour with the weight it actually has, to stop acting as if time were renewable. Think of someone you lost. What would they give for one more day, for one more conversation, for one more chance to say what remained unsaid? You have this day now. You have this conversation available. You have this chance. What would you do differently if you knew you had 1 year, 6 months? Why aren't you doing it now? Number 12. The silence you flee from will not destroy you. It is within it that you finally find yourself. We have arrived here. You flee from silence because you are afraid of what is there, of the thoughts that rise when there is no noise to cover them, of the questions that appear when there is no distraction to delay them, of the version of you that exists when nobody is looking and there is no role to play. And over years, you became very good at this escape. The phone always within reach, something always playing, the mind always moving to somewhere that is not here, not now, not yourself in silence. Here is the truth that changes the other 11. What is in this silence is not your worst. It is your truest. It is the voice that knows what you truly want before what others expect of you. The voice that knows where you are betraying yourself, in which commitments you entered out of fear and not choice. The voice that knows what needs to be said, ended, started, released, and that you have been ignoring, not because you don't hear, but because hearing would require acting. Marcus Aurelius wrote in Book 4, "Withdraw into yourself as far as you can. Not to the world of external opinions, not to the noise of validation, not to constant comparison. Inwardly, to the place where you know who you are without needing approval." Seneca said in letter LX 6:7, "Begin to live immediately, not when conditions improve, not when you have more certainty. Now, in this silence that scares you, in this space that seems empty but is full of what is truest in you. You spent years building noise to not have to sit with this. Work, movement, constant distraction, all engineered not to hear what the wisest part of you has been saying for much longer than you want to admit. Today, just today, sit for 5 minutes with nothing, without a phone, without music, without video. And when discomfort appears, and it will appear, do not flee, just observe, just stay, just listen. What is in the silence is you, and you are bearable. You are more than bearable. You are what you were looking for all along in every place that was not within yourself. You heard 12 truths today. 12 things that most people spend an entire life avoiding, not because they are complicated, but because they are uncomfortable. Because they require that you look honestly at the noise inside you and admit that part of it has your name on it. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, didn't write their philosophy for academic debates. Marcus wrote to himself. He never had the intention of publishing. They were daily reminders of how to be human in the most complete way possible, even when the weight of the world tried to diminish it. They wrote to survive, to maintain sanity when everything crumbled, to be the rock that the sea cannot move. And what they discovered, what you will discover if you have the courage to apply any of these lessons, is this: you have much more control than you imagine. And the control you have is exactly where your power lives, not over what happens, over how you respond, not over others, over who you choose to be, not over the past, over the story you carry from it forward, not over silence, over whether you flee from it or if you finally stay. If these lessons reached you at the right moment, leave a like now. Write in the comments which number hit you the deepest, truly, not what seems right to write, what actually touched you. Share with someone who is ready to listen, and subscribe. Because this channel is for those who choose truth over comfort, growth instead of stagnation, presence instead of escape. The Stoics passed away 2,000 years ago. Their wisdom stayed because it works, not by making life easier, by making you stronger than anything life can bring. Now go and live as if every day mattered, because it does.